Hey everyone, today's video is going to be about camping stoves, or specifically, my evolution of camping stoves. Where I started, how I changed over the years, and where I'm currently at. Now what works for me may or may not work for you based on the foods you eat, your cooking style, and so on. So hey, take a look, see if you can draw anything from this that may help you, and please leave some comments down below. My first stove was actually not a stove at all, but rather stoveless. I just used an old Gatorade powder container, would put couscous, powdered mashed potatoes, and anything that could be cold soaked, and that's what I used. I didn't use a stove at all. After eating cold food for a while, I decided to heat things up. I got this cheap but reliable, although slightly heavy, stove off of Amazon for about $8. It worked. All I would do is put a aluminum mixing bowl on top and it heated food up. It was an upgrade, at least for getting warm food. But I needed to get lighter, so I got this Toaks titanium 750 milliliter cup, and it helped, but I was still kind of heavy. Next came the BRS titanium stove. At 25 grams, it's hard to get much lighter. It provides good, reliable service, and it's pretty cheap. So you put your Toaks on there, and it makes a pretty light setup. And I made a little koozie to keep my food warm as it was cooking inside after taking it off the heat. A very reliable source of cooking is the infamous Jetboil. It's got a great regulator and it does a great job. I've had friends that use them, and I ran into this Jetboil at a going out of business sale at a local outfitter for $20. So I bought it. However, I've never used it once because it is a little bit heavy. Next up was the alcohol stove route. I tried to save some money by making my own. Some of these had better results than others, and some of them were complete trash. However, they did heat water and worked somewhat effectively. All you need is various things like fiberglass, maybe some more fiberglass cloth, and even a tiki torch or two, and then throw in a pot stand, and you can make them work. But they weren't really totally effective. Since my results weren't the greatest with a homemade stove, I decided to actually spring some money out of my wallet and buy the Venom stove. And after trying it out a few times, I didn't really find it that much more effective than my homemade stoves. One of the best known designs is the Caldera Cone. It's made by Trail Designs, and it's a great stove. It works great. I've seen it in action, but they are really expensive. So I decided to make my own. So I made a cone out of some aluminum flashing, and I used my Toaks 750. And it worked okay at best. Something just wasn't right. So after lots of experimenting and having a lot of fun trying to make stoves, I decided to get, yes, you guessed it, I dropped the money and got a real Caldera Cone. It works great, it's efficient, it's lightweight, it's everything that I would use and I will use as long as alcohol stoves are allowed. So in conclusion, after all the experimenting, if alcohol stoves are allowed, I will use the Caldera Cone. If alcohol stoves are prohibited due to fire hazards, which is very common in the summer months, I will use the BRS and use my Toaks for that. And if it's really hot and I just don't feel like cooking, I'm going to use a Talenti ice cream jar and just cold soak. So there you have it. Those are the three options that I use for cooking. It may or may not work for you. Experiment on your own and have fun. Hike on. All right, well, I hope you learned something from my evolution of stoving. Some things worked, some things didn't, and in the end, unless you're really good at manufacturing things, sometimes it's better just to buy the commercial product. After all, they are the experts. Get out there on the trail, have fun, and please leave some comments down below. If you have any questions, ask, and I'll respond as soon as I can.